Hey everybody, welcome to our live call today out on YouTube. It's nice to see you. Hey Doug, how are you doing?
I am fantastic for a Friday, Deb.
Fantastic for a Friday. You know why I am in a great mood today?
Mother's Day?
We talked about on that. Oh, I didn't change my name. I'm still Doug Kyle. Anyway, here's why I'm in a great mood. We talked on Wednesday about setting up a grid for brand
Ah,
new people who maybe haven't seen how simple our tools are inside of nSights.
mm-hmm.
We talked about Bitcoin. So today, when I went out and took a peek at Bitcoin,
It
it's
had gone down.
it's a big drop. It's on sale, Doug.
Yeah, and it may go more on sale, and I'm excited.
Yes, yes. Now it's not at my clearance special of
Well, it does have some of
6,000.
your numbers in it.
Just one extra zero.
Just one extra zero.
You
Just
drop one of those zeros, I'm in. I'm
you're
in.
you're mortgaging the house and selling the kids and going
Right.
all in, right?
Yes. And now's a really good time to remind everybody that obviously we are not financial advisors. This is not financial advice. This is for educational purposes only. And really, it's just to have fun, right? We're here to
Right,
have a good time and talk about what crypto is doing and how you can use nSights to help in your complete DeFi space on the BSC network, of course. We've got a fantastic platform, a trading platform. It's automated, but it also has all the manual stuff that traders love because Doug, being a master trader for the last, I don't
20
know,
years. Yeah,
25
yeah.
years, I think, because it was
Well, we
20
we
when we
don't
started.
we don't go
We
that
stopped
far.
counting.
The gray is self-evident.
20 plus years, he's been a master trader and he came in and designed this amazing platform that is working beautifully for our traders. It's an exciting platform, and I want everybody to take part in it. So please go have a look at our websites, nsightsdfitrader.io. And I want to mention to some of you who've been around for a while that Candace Luther just took some of her time to go through and update all the content on our website. So please go have a look. Our website matches exactly what our platform is doing today. And we're really excited about those changes. So big props to Candace for making that happen for us. So Doug, we're going to talk about Bitcoin today. Yeah?
We are going to talk about Bitcoin today, and we're going to talk about pullback grids primarily. We're going to look at that, but we'll look at the dynamic. What we'll try to do, Deb, is just give a very brief explanation of what the differences are between the two.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, this is perfect for if you're brand new, if you've watched us a few times out here, take notes. Guys, you can go back and watch these videos. But watch Doug and watch how easy it is. Now, it's going to take him a little bit longer to set up than it will take a typical person to set up because he's going to be training. And when we train, it always takes 8 to 10, sometimes 25 times the amount of time that it will take you to actually set up. It's really simple. What he's going to walk you through ultimately, you're going to be able to do in 30 seconds time.
Right. It just depends on how wordy I get, Deb.
Sure.
And I gotta confess, I have the heart of a teacher. I love teaching. I love helping people. So I have a tendency to get too wordy, and I've been accused at going too much into too much detail.
Ah,
So I have been accused of that. So
once
all
or
right,
twice.
yeah. So let's dive in here. Are we ready?
Yes,
All
let's do
right.
it.
Let me share my screen here, and
Speaking of Candace, I forgot to give her a heads up that we were going live.
oh, you better do that,
Sorry,
or you're
Candace.
going to be in trouble.
I'm sure she's on right now, so she'll hear my apology in person after the delay.
Okay, well, while Deb does that, I'm going to go ahead and dive in here, guys. I'm in nSights, obviously. We're going to create a grid. For you guys that are listening, it's not a normal grid, okay? If this is your first time hearing this, nothing we do is like what everybody else does in the market. These are dynamic grids, meaning that whether I do the what is called the dynamic grid itself, this one here, or the pullback grid, Both of them are dynamic, meaning that we use fewer grid lines to start them, and those grid lines move with the market. There is no top end or bottom end to our grids because we can either add grid lines on the fly or take grid lines off on the fly, or the grid lines that have closed dynamically move with the grid.
Doug,
Okay.
when you first showed me about grids, you took
Mm-hmm.
me out to Gate.io and you helped me set up my first grid. There were so many parameters and so much. I had no idea what I was doing, but I followed your lead and I set it up. You know, I don't, maybe I just couldn't figure it out, but there was never a place in there where I could change anything inside of the parameters that I had set up. And
Right.
when the market, you're talking about this being all of our grids are dynamic in that they follow the market up and down. But Gate.io didn't do that for me, right? Once the
No.
coin dropped out of my zone that I had set up, I was no
Right.
longer nothing was happening for me.
Right. And I got this all scrunched up, so it's probably hard to see, but anytime you're picking a high and low in the market, or say this was your, let's say, this was your high and this was your low, as soon as you broke below that, that grid is no longer working. You have to get back in here. And as soon as you make a high here, but your high here was your prior, any grid lines above here is not working for you. So there, with a static grid, there's multiple problems. One, you break below them, and two, you don't use the whole range. And so what that ends up doing is costs you more money to set up a number of grid lines, a lot of grid lines. So each grid line ends up being less per grid line in terms of the amount that the trade is going to be, because you got to support a bunch of grid lines. When we do a dynamic grid, there is no top, no bottom. We usually start off with 2 or 3 grid lines, not 10, 20, or I've seen even 100 grid lines, right? And so I'm committing a little bit of money to all those grid lines, but I'm never using all of the money. In our case, we have more value per grid line. So instead of having like a dollar or $5 or $10 grid line, we have 50, 100, $200 grid lines. And then so when those close, we make more profit, and they dynamically move with the market, meaning that if I have 3 grid lines and I have sold a grid line up here and I have one available when this is dropping, well, it could go below a barrier and take the trade down here. And it moves with the grid, moves with the market. It has a set range like you would a normal grid, 5%, 10%, 2%, whatever you set your range at. But if there's no available trades within that range, meaning that it's a down market, it's looking for up volume. I'm a VSA trader or volume trader. I'm always looking for supported volume or supporting volume to come into the market before it takes a trade. So both the dynamic and the pullback grid are looking for volume to come in, and they are looking at the range, but they're not forced to that range, meaning if there's down volume when we hit that range, it will move that trade down until it finds that volume to come in. Now, the difference with the dynamic versus the pullback, the dynamic will take up volume, meaning that if I have a trade, for example, if I have a trade that I got in down here and my next range is in this area and it sees that up volume, it will take that trade, and it could take the trade fairly high in the market. In a strong running market, a bull market works really, really good, right? But when we hit a range where we've hit a top and we're either in consolidation or potential rollover, then you could get stuck at a top of a market with the dynamic, right? So a lot of our traders will trade the dynamic in a strong bull market, but when they start thinking that we're getting near a high barrier or it's too high in the market, they don't want to risk being in that top end of the market, they'll turn off, they'll pause their dynamic grids, and they'll turn on their pullback grid. So the pullback grid works very similar. It's still dynamic, moving with the market and trading less lines, just like the dynamic. But we set up pullback ranges. So now we're not buying the tops. We're buying the dips. And if it's a strong dip, like I said, it will also keep going down until it sees that buy volume come in. So both of them have their place and both of them work extremely well. You just got to know which one you want to trade at which point or which time in the market. Or as some people like the dynamic and some people just like the pullback, and they trade one or the other and not both, but both are there and both can be traded. So what do you, Deb, any comments on that?
Yeah, I like it. You know, what I didn't like about what I didn't like about grids outside of nSights
Right,
is that if I wanted to trade up $100, and let's just say I wanted 10 lines, right? $10 a line.
right,
If you, when you pick your high and low, if the market doesn't go up high enough or down low enough, you've just got all that money sitting and doing absolutely nothing. It has to
correct,
sit there on its line, right? In its zone, and wait to be used, wait to be traded. And it feels very, you're just stuck. It's not fluid, right? It's
right,
just, you get in there, and if the market goes, and you're at the mercy of the market.
right.
And
Well,
that's what you changed with nSights.
well, you think about your example of $100 in 10 lines, $10 per line. You know, it would be better to trade 3 lines, right? At 30 plus dollars per line than it would be to trade 10 lines at $10. Why is that? Because if I'm going to make 5% or 10% or whatever percent I'm going to make, would I rather make that on 30 plus dollars or on $10, right? I'd rather, my ROI is going to be much greater, and my use of my capital is going to be much greater if I are able to trade a larger amount per line and
Yeah,
control that amount. So
absolutely. And taking your example, if you keep that example in a static grid,
right,
now if I want to play the channel, the nice channel, now my grid zones are way too far apart,
right.
right?
Yeah.
And so I'm still maybe missing a lot of trades.
A
So
lot of trades.
there's so many reasons why what we've built in nSights just far surpasses anything that you can find out there with the traditional grids that people are
Correct.
running on their platforms.
Yeah. And especially if you break, so you back to your $100 example, you break above or below that zone that you've selected. Now your money's not working for you at all.
Now it's all sitting
It's,
static.
yeah,
Your
done.
money static with your grid.
Yeah, you got to cancel the grid and now select another zone, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And start over. The problem with that, most people don't think about that, and this would be the kind of last thing I touch on this. You cancel that grid and open up another grid. The thing that really works for ROI is what we call a turn, right? I want to use that money over and over again. If I can set up a grid at the beginning of a year and let that grid run all year because it moves with the market. So now instead of trading that $100 2 times or 1 time in that range, and then I have to cancel it and start over, I trade that $100 10 times, 20 times, 30 times in a year. So now I have the turn of my money multiple times. And you talk about leveraging and compounding. If I can turn my money multiple times, my return on investment becomes not like 10% or 20% over a year. It becomes like 100, 200, 300, 400% over
Right.
a year because I'm turning the same money over and over. I'm really making my money work for me.
Yes.
So much, much different. All right, let's
So
dive
many,
in.
so many ways nSights just solves the problems.
Right. Yeah, and loving it. So,
Yeah.
okay, going to do a pullback grid today, guys. I kind of gave the overview because we're already pulling back, okay?
Yeah.
And we see
Woo!
that. So okay. I'm going to pledge. So what I pledge will dictate really how many lines I do. And for example, I'm going to do a simple grid, and I'm only going to pledge $100, not a whole lot. Again, this is my demo test fun account to teach on. So I'm going to pledge $100, and I'm going to do 2 lines. Okay, 2 pullback lines, and I'm going to set my desired profit. Okay, I'm going to set that at, this is Bitcoin. I want a minimum of 10%. Okay, on Bitcoin. I'm way high in the market. I'm going to cut that back a little bit. I'm going to say 7%. Okay, uh, and I can adjust that if I want, but I'm going to say 7%. So that's page 1. Okay, page 2 of our setup.
So real quick, just so everybody knows, $100 with 2 pullback lines, that's $50 per trade, 50 BUSD per trade. And he's asking for nSights not to sell until he has at least 7% back in his pocket.
And let's talk. Good, great point, Deb. Let's talk about that 7%. What I'm telling nSights, and you'll see on the next screen, is I want 7%. I don't want my fees and slippage and impact fees. I don't want all of that to say, okay, all of that hit me. I hit 7% market movement and I sold, and now I end up with 2%. No, I want net 7%.
Yes.
So nSights will look at all of the fees at the time of sell. And if it looks at all the fees and it can't give me 7%, it won't sell, right? I've seen nSights try to sell over 200 times before the person was able to get the profit that they desired. But and it doesn't cost anything for us to do that. We go out and look at the market, we look at the fees that are currently in the market, and if they're too great, we don't try to execute.
Yeah.
If you try to execute on the blockchain, there's a fee, right? We look, don't execute, right? But as soon as we look and we know that we can get what we're wanting plus the fees, then we execute. So we make sure we get that desired profit.
Yeah, and Doug, at the time of sell, it's already calculating the fees that were involved in the buy and the
Yes,
fees that will be charged in the sell. So it truly is looking at all of your fees before it decides to press that button and sell.
yeah, absolutely 100%. All right, hit next here. So here's where I can set up my first buy. Now, looking at, and I'm going to pop back and forth between here, Bitcoin has already dropped, okay? And it's on a barrier. And I see that we have some wicks here, and I have a choice to make, a trade, set up a trade either currently at the market. I could say I want it to be aggressive. I think it might drop a little bit deeper if I think that, and that would be about 3.5%. I could say I want it standard, which would mean that it would drop about 6% and get me in. So I want to look at where I'm at. If I was up high, I would set up my first rule, my first buy rule. I would base on, being high in the market, and I'm using the pullback. I don't want to buy the top, right? So I would set up aggressive, standard, conservative around 9.5, or custom, whatever number I put in there. If I select this, it allows me to put my own range that I want to do my first buy, right? But in this case, I'm already down. So I'm going to set up my first buy, $50 at market. I want, get me in. Okay. I've already dropped. Now I think the market's going to drop more, or potentially we're on a barrier. We're showing a lot of down pressure. We have some rejection wicks, may hold here and bounce back up, could roll over and go a little bit deeper. Honestly, I don't know. right? And this is where most traders aren't honest about, oh, I know what the market's going to do, right? Well, I've been trading a long time. I can estimate, excuse me, I can estimate what the market's going to do based on all of the fundamentals and all of the technicals, right? I'm a technical trader. I can look at the wicks, I can look at the volume, I can see rejection volume, I can see those things. I can see that the majority of the large buyers are coming in low in the candle wicks, which is creating a dynamic support area. And I can see that, that we may be trying to really hold that area. But the bears can come in and we can roll over. I've seen it happen a million times. So I'm making a decision on what I see and that I want to be in the market price. My second rule, and this will be the rule from this point forward on all additional buys. Market comes up, sells my first one. Now even though that line, like I said, becomes dynamic and movable, it will be subject to my second rule from that point on. Okay. And I'm going to set a standard rule, which is around 6.5% for all my additional buys. Okay. So this gives me my data. I can do see more, which tells me about where the things are going to take place. So all of that's here. I like what I see. Okay. And I'm going to hit next here. And I'm going to set up my ACA. ACA is my cost averaging, right? So I committed $100 so far to this grid, and I did 2 lines, $50 each. I'm going to set up ACA, and I'm going to also, I can have it just be a standard market drop. Okay, and we're going to fix these oblong dots. They drive me crazy.
I don't know why they look like that.
I think that our front end guy was just having fun with this,
I
Deb.
think so too.
Yeah, let's give them some odd long
It
dots
looks
and
like
see what
a
they say.
it looks like a manhole or a pump
Right.
or something.
So normally my range is around 15 to 20% on most coins. Some coins that are really volatile, I may set up a 30% drop range for that. And in some of the DeFi tokens that we're trading, that show those kind of volatile ranges, I'll take advantage of those volatile ranges and set up a deeper cost average. Bitcoin doesn't have those kind of ranges right now. It seems to be tightening up. And so I'm going to be fairly aggressive on my cost averaging. So I'm going to leave my cost averaging. I'm going to say I want it to be 12% if I do the standard market. If I do this one here, market drop, I'm going to say 12%. I'm going to say, well, no, let's go back to 10. I'm going to do it a little bit different here for this one. Let's say 10%, but I'm going to do the first cost average at $25, half of what I did my first buy. Now, normally I want them to be the same or greater, right? But I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do 2 cost averages, okay? So I'm going to do 2 cost averages, the first one at 25 and the second one at 75, okay? So $25 more than my per line average, which was $50, right? So less on the first one, more on the second one. And the 75 is actually the 75 plus 25. So my second cost average will be $100. Okay. So I'm going in at 20% down. I'm willing to buy, if it drops 20%, I'm willing to buy $100 more of Bitcoin, which is very aggressive. Not aggressive in terms of real trading, but when I'm talking about $100 grid, a small grid, $50 per trade, that's a very aggressive number. So no matter if I'm trading $100 a grid or $1,000 a grid, you think in terms of percentages in relationship to the grid itself. Okay. So that that is a normal drop here market. I'm going to set up a trail buy though. I'm not going to use this one. That's how I set this one up. So let's start over. Let me get rid of this. And I'm going to do a trail buy. Now I have a video that we taught how the trail buy works, but basically if I hit the range that I'm trying to get into and the market's still dropping, my trail buy will follow the market down until the market decides to come back up and hit my trail buy and put me in the market. I'm going to set my trail buy at 12%. I'm going to do a 1% difference, so it's going to trail by 1%. I am going to do the first one at, say, $35. And I am going to do 2. And that's 2 per grid line that I've done. Now, remember, I did 2 grid lines. So just to reinforce what I've already taught, grid line number 1 has 2 additional cost averages. So 3 trades for that grid line. And grid 2 has its first and 2 additional. So 3 grid lines. So a total of 6 trades this will take if all trades get executed. Now, another thing that's really different, you say, okay, well, you talk about committing money to the market and stuff. No, we have, we talked about Deb setting up $100 in 10 grid lines. Well, Doug, now you got 6 grid lines and you're committing a bunch of money to this. No. We have a mid wallet, an ACA, a cost average mid wallet that I deposited an amount into. And I have Bitcoin running. I have Filecoin running. I think I have DOT running. I have a bunch of grids running. That money sits in a smart contract and it's not committed to this grid. If DOT needs that money, DOT will use it and it will trade DOT's cost average. When that closes, it puts the money back in the mid wallet. Then if the market drops and Bitcoin needs it, now Bitcoin will use it. When Bitcoin's done with it, it puts it back in the mid wallet. We designed everything for dynamic and efficiency and for ROI. So now I have a contract that can be used in 10 or 20 different grids on different coins as needed. Now, if that all gets used, yes, I can go deposit an additional amount in that and be used. And then when it's not needed, I could take it back and use it in different places. So we've made this so flexible that all of our money can be used as needed, when needed, and then put back and be used in different ways in different places.
That's just smart, Doug.
I get lucky every now and then, Deb.
It's just really, really smart. And it goes, I mean, it just goes to show the number of the time and effort and energy that you had already put into trading. You took everything, your entire experience, everything that you had learned, and you put it into this. And it shows, Doug. It truly does show. Love it.
Well, thanks, Deb. Yeah, and I think you're all the traders, you guys that are out there, you're like me, right? You want power, you want flexibility, you want control. And for you guys that aren't traders, you can just set this up and it does it all. We have people that set up their grids and never touch them, right?
Yeah.
And we got one person, I won't say her name on the call, but she set it up, put the money in one time, set up a couple grids, and they've been trading. She doesn't go and do anything, and she's up over 200% in her account. So it can be either hands-on or hands-off. And in both cases, it works for that person, depending on the level that they're at.
For sure.
So I'm going to do fixed amount. I did 35 instead of 25, like I did on the market drop one. And I'm going to set this to 65. Okay. So I'm done with that. I taught all that I'm going to teach. Okay. And again, like I said, I get a little wordy, but I want you guys to understand the tool. I want
Yeah.
you to understand what you have. Okay. I'm going to hit next here. Now, remember I said the fees, I can turn the fees off. Okay. I can come here and uncheck this and it won't take the fees in. It's really dangerous.
It won't take the fees into your profitability. It
Consideration for
won't.
my close.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
So the problem with that, especially in the DeFi space, now if we're trading at an exchange, we have, if I'm trading Kraken or Binance or an exchange, the fee structure is different. But if I get in the DeFi space and there's limited liquidity, then I have things called impact fees and other things, right, that can really affect it. So in the DeFi space, to turn this off is really dangerous because we've seen impact fees as high as 99.9%.
Yep.
I had a trade for $100 and I got $1 back. It took it all in fees. Okay. So, and
Now,
Deb,
just to be clear, that does not happen very often, but it does happen. And the good news is, Doug, we've built the system so that if the impact fees are high, it is not going to take your trade, and it's going to wait until those fees come down.
so yeah,
Yeah,
so let me touch on that just for a second because Deb,
sure.
this really happened, and I'll be honest, happened by accident on this part, right? Not too many accidents in development, but this one was really a happy surprise for me. We had trades where we had this checked, right? And the market's going up and the impact fees are too high because liquidity had gotten tight and the market had kind of shut down, but the market is going up. When the market got up and it started channeling out up here instead of down here, right? It started channeling out. Well, guess what happened? The market settled down, liquidity came back in, and the impact fees went away. Now nSights closed, in some cases 40 and 50 and 60% up.
Right.
And it didn't allow it to close until it settled down up here.
Yeah,
That was a very, very happy surprise,
very
right?
happy surprise.
But it makes sense, right? Because the market stabilized. And the crypto market isn't like Forex. In Forex, we had vertical ups and vertical downs, right? It was like elevators, right? It was up and then down. Here we have ups and then a little bit more stabilizing, or we have downs followed by stabilizing. It's a little bit different here than it would be in Forex.
Mhm.
Okay.
And real quick on the fees, just to make sure everybody understands, these are blockchain fees. These are charged on the BSC market. So nSights is not putting additional fees on your
Correct.
account. These are just standard. If you're gonna trade anywhere on DeFi or anywhere, there's always fees for your transaction. Yeah.
All right. And remember, I said buy at market. Well, because I said I wanted to buy at market, this is really important for me to look at right now. The impact fee is only 0.018. If I saw a high impact fee here, I wouldn't do market. I'd go back and change my first trade, that first trade option. I'd go back and change it, but I'm looking at this here and I'm okay. All right. It's an okay impact fee. So we give you all of the information while you're setting this up to really be able to be clear on what the market's doing and what you're trying to do in relationship to the market. Okay. All right, let's hit next, Deb.
All right, let's
And
do it.
oh, I do have my phone. Whew. That's a funny joke between all of us, guys, because I didn't have my phone one day. All right. Here's everything you said you wanted to do. You could go through and look at step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. and confirm. If you wanted to edit one, you could click here and it would take you back. I don't want to start all over. I don't want to do that, but it would take you back to step one and you can redo everything from right here. Okay. I like everything that I see. I'm going to do the 2FA. And we do 2FA on everything, guys. We have the ability for you to select and not select 2FA. We encourage you to select 2FA on everything.
And the only thing that is always 2FA is your login and withdrawals from your mid wallet. Those are automated 2FA. When you set
Right.
up your account initially, you're going to set up your 2FA and you're going to use it every time. Then once you're in, you can decide, you know what, I kind of want it on adding grids and deposits and everything.
Yeah. I mean, so nobody can hack you, right? They can't come in and take over. And another thing that if you're new, you don't know, we tie into your MetaMask, but we don't stay connected to your MetaMask. We built smart contracts that you make deposits into from your MetaMask, and we trade from that smart contract, your smart contract. And the only way to get money out of nSights is back to the original MetaMask that set it up. Okay. So you don't have to leave your wallet open. You don't have to do any of that kind of nonsense. All right. Let's go here. We're looking for, there it is, nSights. Deb, my phone has gotten full of these codes.
I know I put the ones that I use regularly at the top, so I know to go to the top, but I'm constantly having to search for the code that I need.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to show me how to move mine to the top. Okay. I'm going to hit confirm here before my code runs out, which just did. Now, sometimes it won't go through on the first time because the blockchain is busy, guys. So there it did. It went through. Okay. So I successfully added. Now I can go down to my grids, my pullback grids here. And because I set up my first trade to be at market, it executed immediately. If I had set up my first trade to be a 3%, 6%, 10% pullback or a custom number, it would be over here in pending because it's waiting for that deeper pullback to execute the trade. But because I did it at market, it's here in live immediately. Okay. Click on this. It shows the first trade. It shows where it took. It shows that my cost averages are on. It also shows where that first cost average is going to take place and that the market needs to move down 12% for that cost average to happen. If the market moved down 8% and hit a barrier, I can come in and add a manual cost average to it. You have all the power. So today's lesson was really about how to set up your first grid, how to do manual overrides, how to add trades, delete trades, how to add grid lines, delete grid lines. We've taught that in other lessons and we'll be teaching it more in the future as we go on. But today, wanted to show you just how simple it was to set up a grid. All right, Deb.
Yeah, I love that. And it really is that simple. If you take out all the words and you just walk through the one thing, no, you did great. The words it was training. You were training. We needed them. And I was chiming in every chance I got too. So, the one thing that we do want you to do before you set up a grid is we want you to do a little research on that coin and make sure it's a coin that you want to trade. We have about 100 coins to choose from inside of nSights.
Yeah.
They've all been vetted. They're real projects. But you never know what that coin is going to do on any particular day. Some coins are in there that are meme coins, right? We do have a few meme coins and we have some really fantastic projects. So know your coin, do your research, then set up your grid and get excited.
Right. Let me touch on your word vetted just for a second because
Sure.
people misconfuse that in the past. When we vet a coin, they thought we were saying that it was a great coin to trade. That's not what that means. Yeah, it means that we've looked at it as a project, and it's a legitimate project. It's not a rug pull or a honey pot or any of those things. And if you don't know what those mean, just put those words in Google and you'll read it and you go, oh my gosh, that's why they vetted them, right? But it doesn't mean that we guarantee that that coin's going to go up, right? It just means that this is a coin you can trade, and like Deb says, do your homework, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of my best friends said, well, I trade that coin, Doug, because you had it on your possibility. And I had to tell him, I said, buddy, I didn't say go trade that coin. I just said it was an option. So I know that's a problem. And so everybody needs to be clear. Our vetting is not vetting the coin for a guarantee.
Yeah. 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 Important to say that. I hope you enjoyed this. I did, Doug. I really enjoy every time I get to go through what we put into this platform with regard to the way our grids work. And I love that you went over that so that people can understand. If you understand grid trading, this is completely different than
Oh,
what
it's grid trading on steroids. It's
on
a whole new
steroids.
animal.
It's a
So,
whole new animal, and it's doing beautifully. And we hope that you'll get involved. I did have a nice conversation with Doreen,
oh, good.
who's on today. And hey,
Hi,
Gary,
Doreen.
nice to see you. And Doreen was asking about during the year while your money is working for you, would you be able to do any withdrawals?
Yeah,
And my response back to her was, yes, you can withdraw your tokens at any time. If let's say you deposit $1,000 to start and you add a grid for 500 of it, the remaining 500 could be used or withdrawn anytime. If that 500 in your grid, if to get that out, you do need to cancel the grid. And if any trades are open, then you have those tokens. So let's say you were trading Bitcoin and you decided, oh, I need to use that 500. You cancel your grid and you had two open trades. So you have, if it was a $50 trade, then you've got $100 worth of Bitcoin. $100 or whatever the value is today, right? If Bitcoin went up, you've got even more. But that you have those coins, you can withdraw those coins, you can sell those coins, you can put them in a cycle trade to continue to accumulate for you. There's so many options, but
right,
your money is always your money. We can't touch it. We have zero access to your money because it's tied to your MetaMask on the outside of our system. So we can't touch it. It's there for you. It's always your choice, what you do when you deposit, when you withdraw. It's all up to you. So that was a
right.
great question, Doreen, and I appreciate
Yeah,
you
yeah.
asking it. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, and I'll say, loud and clear, we don't want to touch your money. We don't want to be responsible for your money. It's your money, right? We don't pull money. We don't pull trades. We don't block groups together. None of that nonsense, right? I've been around for a long time. I've been with many exchanges. I went through 3 embezzlements that exchanges embezzled my money, right? And for lots of money. And so I'm hypersensitive to anybody that says, give me your money and I'll trade it for you and I guarantee you this amount of return per month. I run from that stuff, right? It's your money. I build the tools, we build the tools, we teach the tools, we empower you to learn how to trade and manage your money. There's nothing greater than learning how to trade and how to make money trading and having the tools to do that with and being truly in control of your destiny. That's it. So,
Love it. Love
yeah.
it. And I love that we got to end on that. Thank you, Doug, so much. Really appreciate you. Guys,
Yeah.
if you want to join us for our Saturday morning call, it's tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Pacific. And you can find us if you go to our Discord. I will try to remember to come out to the live and put that link in there. I have to go grab it real quick. But please come join our Discord and then join us tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., where you can come on and ask us any questions that you want. And Doug will personally respond to you. And we love our community. So come join us. Love to see you there.
Fantastic. Thank you, Deb.
Thank you, Doug. See you next time.